for less. It's all in your head, how you think you manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes, only positive thoughts.
What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. It's your boy Devan, and today I am excited to announce we have a special guest. I was actually had the pleasure and the honor of being a episode guest for her on her podcast, but we have Nyomi Banks. She is a transformative life coach. She is an entrepreneur, and honestly, she is an award-nominated podcast host as well, like I said, but she is a published author, and you guys know, me releasing a book, it's always cool to connect with, other people on that same journey. But Naomi's, journey is super interesting. Her background to now where she's at, and now she's all about self-love. Her podcast, it has seasons, which I thought was super cool. I told her I might have to steal that, for you guys at the Mindset Cafe. But from self-love to healing to empowerment. So her journey is a remarkable one for growth and resilience. So I'm excited to have her on. Her podcast is also called The Season of Self-Love, if I'm not mistaken. So without further ado, Naomi, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day.
Hi, thank you. It's a privilege. I was vibing to your intro too. It was good. It's good to see you again.
Thank you. So let's dive in. Let's start with your upbringing and what led you into the entrepreneurial path. That whole thing. Because my thing with the Mindset Cafe is some people connect with others through their journey. We get kind of put on a pedestal when we're already successful, we're already doing stuff, and people are like, I'm not there yet, so I don't connect. Right. So what was your journey like, school, college, whatever the case may be till now?
Well, I've always been an entrepreneur. I always had an entrepreneurial spirit ever since I was a little girl, from selling different things, cookies, Girl Scout cookies. I think it really started off with Girl Scouts, Girl Scout cookies from there. And also just being competitive and always wanting to be, as I say, a multi-billionaire. I used to walk around and say that I am a multi-billion-dollar industry walking around, just myself, period. So, I have many lives. I went to school. I went to college. I didn't graduate college, but I went to college for 2 years. And then I went to trade school for another 2 years. But more of my entrepreneurship came from just things that I've done, from the work that I did. I've been in the entertainment business for over 30 years. I started off in modeling, acting, singing. I had a record contract with Sony. So I've been through the industry in so many ways. I think I've done everything possible that could be done. But with entrepreneur, that was my first thing. And then once, probably about 10 years ago, about 13 years ago, I retired away from the adult industry. That was like my last thing. And once leaving from there, I knew it was something that I needed to do. At that time, I had a makeup line. I had a lot of stuff going on. I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I had a lot of stuff going on. But for something, all of that didn't make me fulfilled. You understand what I'm saying? And so I really had to go deep down and search really what is happening to me and what do I see missing within myself. And so that's where it's the season of self-love and Ask Naomi and all that come from. But no, I went to school. Yes, I went to college. I didn't quite graduate. 2 years shy of that, but then I went to trade school. And then now I'm certified. I'm certification, and I continue to keep going there, like taking classes and there. So I'm always staying there, educated with that for us. But yeah, entrepreneur has always been my first love, right along with music.
No, that's awesome. I mean, the Girl Scout cookies is definitely, one, those things like hit different, but two, that I could definitely see where that entrepreneurial kind of drive can come from with having to sell the Girl Scout cookies and all that kind of stuff. And I think that honestly, there's no knock to trade school whatsoever. Like my brother became an electrician and he has an amazing career, and he did 2 years in college and was like, this ain't for me, and switched over, and now he's making bank. So it's like there's no knock to that whatsoever. And I think it's interesting that you said you keep going, you keep taking classes. What's your motivation for that continued knowledge?
I say I'm a forever student. I'm forever learning. We learn something new every day. Things are changing. Back in my time, I'm 52 years old. So the internet, all of this right here, this wasn't here when I was, 19, 20, even 30 years old. It wasn't like this. And so there's new things that I need to learn, not only for myself, but, for my children as well. And also for business wise, and just really for my purpose and just being out there. So the more that I learn different things, especially when it comes to human connection, being with different people and talking to different people, you have to learn different languages. You have to learn different skill tax to be able to truly understand who and what they are. At a time in my life, I was a teen counselor for teen parents years ago, and I was able to get that through going through certification and courses right there that I can be able to sit with them, because I was a 19-year-old mother at one time, and so I was able to relate to them in ways that that will be beneficial for them as well. I work for DCFS. Another thing, them 2 years that I did, go to school, it helped. Everything helped along with the journey that allowed me to be right where I'm at right now.
No, that's so awesome. I think that, being a forever student is important. There was a saying that I heard. It's, to have a white belt mentality, right? Because white belts, like martial arts, you go white belt, you go all the way up to black belt, and people think, okay, once I'm a black belt, then I know everything. It's like, no, then there's black belt, second degree, third degree, fourth degree. And so you're just starting your learning process once you hit black belt. So you just have to have that forever white belt mentality and continue learning. And you can reinvent yourself as many times as you would like in the process, or pivot as many times you would like in that process. So I think that's so interesting, that you are, conveying that message, because it is so important. With you transitioning from the entertainment, and singing, which is crazy. Like, you've had so many lives, and done so many things and accomplished so much. But what inspired you to transition into like life coaching, and what was that pivotal moment to really focus on like self-love and empowerment?
I'm ready to say it. All of my life, I've been a life coach. Didn't know it. They used to call me Dear Abby in high school, because everyone come to me for advice. Everyone came to me for advice ever since I was a young girl. And so as always, it just went over to a natural state of mind. Wherever I'm at, I can be talking to someone and getting advice and talking with them. And I remember my cousin-in-law said, you should be a life coach. I said, no. She was like, yeah. She said, because you get good advice and everyone always comes to you, for advice. And, I thought about that. I said, oh, okay, I'll think about it. But I was already going through certification for sex and relationship coach. And just in that genre. And when I really said and I thought about it, I said, yeah, this is something that I really would like to do, to really sit and talk about. But going through my self-love journey, it actually started to happen when I was pregnant with my last baby. And I had truly created a whole, we call a prayer closet, a prayer closet. And I remember having all of my piece of papers, a line of people that I would love to forgive, and then a list of people who I was looking for forgiveness from. And I remember writing them all letters. And I just remember, because I was on bed rest during that time. I was on bed rest the whole entire time. And I'm going to go back just a little bit. I was in the adult industry for about 6 or 7 years during that time. And I was steady in it, really doing great, amazing thing. And I remember having a conversation in my car. That was my prayer. That my car was my prayer room. And I remember saying to God, I was like, when you are ready for me to leave this season of my life, you will let me know. And beforehand, I was told that I was not able to have any more children unless I was able to have help. Fast forward 10 years later, I'm now pregnant with my last child. And this is just like, what the heck? What is this all about? And sure enough, I got out at the right time when a lot of things was happening crazy. And, you know, that's what happened for me. It was like, this is time to get out. But even being in that closet and truly understanding my connection with God, I've always had a connection with God. And it was never a religious thing. It was more always a spiritual thing, that I was always awake, but didn't know it. And when I was in that closet, that's when I realized truly how connected that I was with God. And that was on the turn me on to that self-love journey, that turned me on to having that connection with oneness with God within myself. I was no longer looking for God outside of me. I was now looking for God, the God within me. And that started my journey. I went and got rebaptized all over again. I did, did everything possible, but it's truly understanding your relationship with yourself and with God. That's the biggest thing, because when you don't have that self-love and that faith that you have inside of you, that's God. We are an image of God. And so we have to have that to where we are aware, that awareness, that discernment, all of that. So then that outside world, it cannot determine on what you should do with your life. We all been put on this world for a reason. My journey in life was supposed to be my journey in life, so I can be relatable to people in situations that might think that God don't love them. But understand
Mm.
that God loves us all, regardless to what we do in life. And that was a part of my journey for the season of self-love. Well, self-love for me, yeah.
I mean, honestly, that one part, I want to just rewind to what you just said. I've never heard it said that way, and honestly, I've never really thought about it. But the way you said it, we go through things in life sometimes, and we feel like, whether it's a regret or you feel like the world's against you or what, you're put on this on in your life for a reason, and I believe that things do happen for you for a reason, whether it's not your time and it's for a reason, or it's happening to you right now and that's also for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And so what you said with your life journey and being able to, you go through all these things and now it makes you relatable, right? It's like, wow, like that is actually really powerful, because sometimes, I mean, I've done things in the past that, there's times in my life, that obviously I don't promote as much.
Right.
And it's like those things make you relatable to a lot of people. Those are the things that make you authentic,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that is super powerful that you said that, because honestly, the way you brought it, I was like, wow, that just kind of opened up my mind too. I was like, that was awesome. Um, I know you were kind of describing it a little bit, but what does like the term self-love actually mean to you?
For me, it's truly having an intimate relationship with yourself. What we do at the season of self-love is we peel back all of the layers and we get to the core, to the soul of who you are. Just now, we're speaking on cultivating self-compassion, and with that we talk about having that inner critic versus that inner ally, and what does that look like. And a lot of people, a lot of your inner critics come from out of criticism from loved ones, from parents, from teachers, or whatever. And that's really what self-love comes from too, because who are the ones that teach us how to love ourselves? It's the very people who has raised us, and they put those and their values on us. And we tend not to know what our values are. So with season of self-love, and what self-love is for me, is truly finding out what that is for yourself, but also healing that, because we all need healing. 100% of us need healing. Ain't no 99.9. 100% of us need healing. And that, it kind of breaks it down. It breaks everything down. And I know you said in the top of the hour that about every month it's a different series. Every month is a different series. And we tackle that every day, Monday through Friday, with certain things to help us to get through those things. When we make these decisions and these choices in life, we have to be able to forgive ourselves, take accountability for what you did, and learn from those things, but also have self-compassion and self-love. And that's having those intimate relationships with yourself, having those conversations with yourself, loving yourself regardless to anything, loving all of your flaws and
Mhm.
embracing all of them, because all of that is what builds your character of who you are, make you your unique self with all of that. So self-love for me is having an intimate relationship with yourself, falling in love with yourself, so then you can show others on how to love you. Yeah.
Mm, I like that. So, I mean, there's so many people out there struggling with, finding their self-worth and, healing, maybe, whether it's past traumas, healing mindset, healing, themselves. What would you say, like maybe some first steps that they could do to take that directional change to really embrace their values and embrace their true self-worth?
First of all, what do worth look like for them? That's the one thing. Because we all have a different definition of what worth looks like for us. And
Mhm.
I'm just going to be very open and candid. Just this morning, there is something that triggered me that's triggering. We think we've healed. There is no healed. We just have different, layers to what healing is, and we always healing every day because there's something there that will always trigger. We just have to have the tools to be able to remove, move us out of that,
Mhm.
honor it and move us out of that. But I do this mirror imaging thing. Let me go back. I do this mirror imaging thing where I look at myself in the mirror and I say of who I am. I look in that mirror and I say of who I am. And anything else is different. It's not of. But then I ask, what do worth look like for me? What does your worth look like to you? What is your definition of worth for you?
Mm.
For you, not what your mom said, not what your teacher said, not what your boss said, not what your wife or your husband said. What do it look like for you? And then I talk about values. What are your core values? What are your core values? I remember doing a e-course on self-love, and I asked my students then to choose 9 words out of it. I think it was like 200 and something core values, and choose them and create a story for yourself. Create whether a story, a poem, or a letter to yourself. And they came back with some amazing things. And I said, when you finish, write it out, print it out, put it in a frame, and put it on the wall. And that is something that you say to yourself every day. You create your worth. You create who you are. But first, you got to know, what is your worth? What do worth mean to you? Yeah. So
No, I like that. I think that is important, and there's no there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer, right? And that it's hard because we think worth as, when someone says, worth, and what is it worth? Immediately they think financial, right? And it's like that's not always the case. Like there's different plays on the word and the meaning, and so your self-worth isn't tied to anything monetary,
no,
right? And it's so much deeper than that, and everything that you've just explained, kind of portrays that as well. In just like your core values might be different than my core values, and not that we have a ton of different ones, but like what is the most important ones to you, right? And those are your core values,
yeah.
right? There's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. So I like the mirror thing, right? I thought you were about to say, you get in front of the mirror and you start flexing and everything like that, but but no, I mean it is true. Sometimes like I do like daily self-reflections, right? What was I supposed to accomplish in the day? Did I accomplish it? Did my interactions, like how did each of my interactions go with people, even if it was just passing by someone,
Yeah.
right? And how did it make me feel, like whatever, and so then you start to build that emotional intelligence, but also you start to learn yourself what triggered you, and I can tell you actually, for example, one of the things that I would be thinking about later today is I was in my car and I was trying to exit my gym parking lot and waiting to turn, and so I was looking one way to see the oncoming cars, and this older man walked behind my car and slapped the back of my car. Now I have a very short temper, like, because I have the Cuban side to me. I have a very short temper, but at the same time, like I didn't realize what had just happened, and it clicked, and it was like, you know, a few years ago, I would have got out and be like, sorry, you like, yo,
Yeah.
but it was just like, was it that big of a deal?
Yeah.
Like if that made him feel better, all
Yeah.
right, so it's like, but why did, like, for me later on, it's gonna be like, why did I still have that, instinct to still jump out? It's like, so those kind of things, right? And to really just know yourself and understand why you think certain ways. Why does something still trigger you, right? And everything like that. So I think that's super important. You said that, you, unless I have this wrong from my, research on you a little bit, you have an upcoming series, or maybe it's already going, but Healing Beyond Betrayal, is that in the works? Is that
No, that was a series that we did last September when we returned back for the second season. It was Healing Beyond Betrayal. It was a month long. It was an amazing series. It was a
okay?
month long series that we talked with, and actually that's when I started to open guests to come on the show then too there. And we had some amazing people that came in to talk about their healing beyond betrayal, trauma coaches, therapists, some amazing people that came on and shared their story, different from sexual assault to rape to physical abuse, from watching their father being murdered. So many different aspects of betrayal can happen, even from a divorce, of cheating. And we were able to go through all of those stages with each one of those guests that we have to heal, at least start the healing, at least starting the healing and having the conversation on what that looks like to heal beyond the betrayal. Sometimes we have the betrayal and, everything is gone, and then we have nothing else left after that, from there. And that was just giving a start to it. I actually did an ebook for that we did okay with it, but I'm looking to do more with that healing beyond betrayal. So, yeah.
So what inspired that project? I mean, yeah, I know it ties into everything else that you're doing, but like it's a powerful niche essentially of, self-love, of healing and everything like that, because one, betrayal is a strong word, and I love how it's, used, because that's what it does feel like to us, with a lot of, obviously some of those severity things like rape and everything like that, obviously. But, it's like other things, if sometimes we feel like it's betrayal, even though it might not be as big as it is, saying that very lightly. but, but what was the inspiration for that project?
Just as you said right there, when we hear betrayal is such a harsh word. It's like something has to be so devastating.
Mhm.
And no, betrayal can be the most simplest thing. When you are children and you see things, or maybe your mom yelled at you or whooped you for no reason or whatever like that, you feel a sense of betrayal, and that carries on with you forever, because you
Mhm.
don't understand what that is at that time. So when we start to think of what that betrayal looks like for me, and you start to heal that betrayal, that actually opens you up more to truly understanding what self-love. Not only is it betrayal for others, but also betrayal of yourself. We talk
Mm.
about that a lot too, is because a lot of times we have things that we say, well, we're not gonna do, or we're gonna try not to do it again. Just like the incidents you said, the guy slapped the back of your car, and you was, and now you have the language in the tools to bring it down. But before, you would have been out there and you would have been mad as heck at yourself, right?
Yeah.
Dang, I just betrayed myself. So we take these words and we break them all the way down. We break it all the way down to, and it's all about getting to the core and the foundation of different things. Especially when we talk about words. Words are magical. I remember first reading this book, The Four Agreements. That is an amazing book. And when I read it, it changed my insight on, especially on how I talk to people and even how I talk to myself. And when thinking about those and thinking about the words that we use in each one of the series, it is, yes, to get your attention, but also like, okay, I really need to go deep. Yeah, we need to go deep. And some of the time it's a lot of repetitive things that we have to do, because we have to unlearn what we learned.
Mm.
Mhm.
Let's I mean, that dang, that's so powerful. So I want to dive into, and I want to kind of take a tangent on what you had mentioned, because betrayal, the way I was mentioning it was, from external, but then you said something so powerful that was talking about internal betrayal. Can you dive into that? Because I feel like, whether it's turning over a new leaf, whether it's sometimes, sticking to a fitness program and telling yourself this time you are going to be committed, right? And then betraying what you had committed and made an agreement with yourself. It doesn't necessarily always need to be something super, drastically me jumping out of the car, right? Can you dive into a little bit about that, process of, with, self betrayal and overcoming it?
Because so many times we make these promises to ourselves. We are the ones, when we look at ourselves, we depend on nobody but ourselves. This is who our number one is, us. And when we don't do what we say we're going to do, or we make a decision that might be harmful for us or to us, we are the hardest on ourselves. And it's also comes to with self-compassion as well. So when you start to heal beyond that betrayal within yourself, then that allows you to have more self-compassion for yourself. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, that's why I had to do the betrayal first when opening up, coming back for season 2. Season 1, it was just myself and my co-host, Dr. Will, that would come on twice a week. But then I knew it's something different that I had to come on with the second season, especially if I'm opening it up to guests. I need to go down to the core, and that betrayal is it. because that is probably the first thing that we have within ourselves, that we are so hard on ourselves. We can't talk about self-compassion until we heal the betrayal within ourselves. We can't, forgive nobody else until we start healing the betrayal within ourselves and understanding what that faith is within us. Remember when I talked about that faith in the beginning and
Hmm.
understanding what that is? That's what that is. Yeah.
Oh no, that's awesome. So I mean, going off of that as well, and kind of taking another pivot, going into relationships, going into love, going into all those things, right? I mean, you've built a platform where you've talked openly about love, about sex, about relationships, and everything. So I wanted to kind of go into why this is so important to talk about, but also maybe what are some of the biggest like misconceptions that people do have about relationships and intimacy.
Why did I want to go into it? Not only for myself, but also for my children and my children's and just generations. So it's somewhere, somehow we have to break those generational curses.
Mhm.
Right now in the world, how the world is right now. It's so toxic. It's so disheartening. And that's because there's a lot of hurt people out there, a lot of hurt people that don't even know what self-love is. Self-love to them is like a band-aid. I remember having a conversation with a guest on my Ask Naomi Vision the Gap podcast show. And I remember her just being loosely about what love with in self-love, that it was just an imagery that she said. And I couldn't understand that.
Mhm.
How can you say that when you yourself, you search for love, you're looking for love? I hear the way that you're talking that you're definitely of need of love. So is my thing is, who hurt you? How can we heal you from that hurt? Because if we able to love ourselves, and you think of yourself so much, and I'm not talking about it in an arrogant way, I'm talking about truly loving yourself where you just at peace, then guess what? You're going to get that love back to somebody else. So now we're building a domino, a ripple effect in the world, that now we are on this earth serving one another. And this goes into our relationship and intimacy, where we can be honest and open about what's in our hearts and in our lives. When you have self-love, you can be authentic and honest of who you are, because can't nobody shake it. You understand what I'm saying? So if you can be that, and you are in these relationships with these people, and you're giving that to them, and they be like, wow, mm, I want some of that too.
No, I think it is so true. Like self-love, and I mean, because self-love gives you confidence, right? To a degree.
Yeah.
And I agree with everything like that. Like you have to love yourself first before you can not necessarily love others, but allow others to love you,
Yeah.
right? Because others will try to love you, but it doesn't either hit the same, or it doesn't feel the same, or feel authentic to you, because you don't love yourself. So you almost feel like they're just saying it to say it, even though they're being fully truthful, but they're just saying it to say it because you can't see that truth within self first,
Mhm. Yes.
right? So how do you think that your self-love, your self-confidence influences having or maintaining a romantic relationship?
Well, for me, I've been married for over 12 years. I've been with this man for over 20 years. um, for me, I think it's because when you do have that self-love and that self-confidence within yourself, that it kind of builds empathy and compassion for others. You
Mhm.
understand? So when you have already been through that healing process, you can see that if a person needs to be healed, but also when to have boundaries as well. You understand what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
in that instinct, you can actually show a person on truly on how to love you. You just said not too long ago about not even knowing how to receive love from others,
Mhm.
which is such a true statement, because you don't know how to love. And even those that's giving you the love, they don't even know why they're giving you the love. And that's where we have to, as a whole, is really go down deep and find it. If it's not me or my lingual, as I say, my lingual, it can be somebody else that can probably speak your language, to understand that lingual, to make it better fit for you, on understanding what your self-love looks like for you, because it is a understanding, and it is a language barrier when we talk sometimes. But they say love don't have a barrier. Well, the conversation that's above that, it does. So we can get to it. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I love that. You have so much going on still, being a serial entrepreneur, right?
Mhm.
How do you balance? And I'm using the word balance because I haven't found a good word to replace this yet. So if you know a better word, let me know. But how do you balance, entrepreneurship, coaching, content creation, and I believe you're a caregiver for your mother, right? How do you balance all that out and still be a wife, still be a mom, and I mean all those things? Because my thing is like balance isn't always 50-50 or equal pieces, but how have you found a way to balance everything?
It's been hard. It's been a difficult thing, very challenging. But I am blessed that I do have my partner, my man. He's very understanding. He know if I'm only giving 10% to him, he know why I'm only giving 10%. He believes in my purpose probably more than I do. He's watched my journey. He's seen it all. And so he understands exactly what it is. I think even with going through self-love, it helped me with my patience about myself and removing that perfection that we all strive for. So that helps me with living in the moment, and being able to. So sometimes I might not can't get to this job. I mean, this business or this business, and I have to start to prioritize different things. That's one thing, is prioritize what's needing my priority right now. Boom, 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 and I take some stuff off of my table until now. But also, what I do too now, and that you say this, because I've actually surrendered, meaning that I allow God to guide me. I am so open and so aware, and things He gives me signs every day. I'm at my altar in the morning, and my prayer is, to guide me on this day. I go in with intentions on what I want, but it might be shown to me different, and I go with it. I go with it every day, and that was helped to balance me. There is no 50-50. I'm a Libra. So, I'm all about trying to be balanced. And I was shocked, like, no, honey, that is not the way to balance. So yeah, it's really prioritizing things, how you want. And I know you want everything to happen like this. But I'm trusting in the timing, and I'm surrendering. I'm getting out of that driver's seat, or at least pushing back and allowing God to drive me, because wherever that I'm going with that is taking me further than I can ever imagine. So I'm trusting in that. Yeah.
No,
Mhm.
that's awesome. And you mentioned, having such a supportive partner and everything. And honestly, I could say the same even for my wife. We've been together, we've been married 5 years, but been together for more than 10. Don't let her know. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I think it's 12, but um being an entrepreneur and being someone that is all over the place and has so many things, is not it's not easy to be with us, right? In terms of like we don't just come home and check out, like especially in the beginning, stages. So what would your advice be to someone that is going down that entrepreneurial path that does want a relationship? Because I think that you have to find the right person, right, that supports you and is a value add in terms of just again supporting, and understanding your life. But what would your advice be in terms of relationships for someone that maybe is going down that entrepreneurial path?
So let me say this, and I'm just going to be honest. When you are going down that entrepreneur path in the beginning, and I'm going to say this right now, you don't have time for a relationship. You're not being fair to yourself, and you're not being fair to that other person. When you do get to a point in your life that you are open and ready because you are going to have to give a little. You're going to have to compromise or give. I don't like saying compromise too much, but to truly give a little. And when you in the beginning of it, and you're not in a relationship, it's hard, because that's all you're thinking about is go, 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 go. My thing is, don't do it until you get to where you want to be. And I'm just being truthful, because that other person might not understand, and it might not be truthful to them.
Mhm.
But then, and I'm going to say this, but then if there's somebody else that's doing, the same thing, they could come in and be just your biggest supporter. I was just blessed that he, stepped back and able to, watch me do my thing. But I also a co-pilot when he's a pilot. You understand what I'm saying? So we're able to balance each other out in that way. You know, we came in like that. You know, that's something that we came in, and we had some bumps in the beginning with it. I just think just now, especially when I'm going down a self-love journey, really make sure that you are for yourself first. And what I mean, and that's even before you really get in tune with the entrepreneurship. I think a lot of people, especially a lot of entrepreneurs and people, you know, that make all this money and stuff, they still unhappy. They're trying to figure out why they're unhappy. My thing is to build that relationship with yourself first, more than anything. Then once you have that relationship within yourself, with yourself, that intimate relationship with yourself, and you build in your business as well, then that's that person that comes in, you're gonna know that is the right person for you, because you already got rid of the BS, that, you know what I'm saying, the things that and you already know when it triggers you, you already know what that is, and so you don't have to guess, you know. So
No,
yeah.
yeah, I definitely. I mean, that is exactly the point. You know, it's tough to be with us, especially in the beginning, and you're not being fair to the person or yourself. And I think that if you're already in it, you know, I think in my personal opinion is like communication is
Yeah.
key,
Oh
right?
yes.
You know, so one last question I do like to ask everyone when they do come on, and I don't like to say this ahead of time so you don't get time to prepare, right? This is Naomi Banks' legacy wall, right? And on the legacy wall, it's not a tombstone, so you know it's meant to be you're almost like your quote wall, right? What is one quote or message, short or long, that you would leave for the up and coming generations that you've learned through your life's journey?
Oh wow. You know, there's one that I lived through all of my life. Is never judge a book by its cover. Take the time to read the pages of the book.
Mm, all right, I like that. You know, can you dive in a little bit? I mean,
Yeah.
that was cool.
You know, when you look at me, you can say so many different things, and you probably be wrong, because you truly haven't taken the time to read the pages. It's so funny when I remember writing that. I remember typing on my mom's it was like one of those old school typewriters. I remember typing it in there. And at that time, I didn't know really what it was. I just said it because it was just there in me. Hey, fast forward 20 years later, I'm now a model. I'm model, you know, traveling all over the place doing. And I remember people used to always say that I was very high maintenance. You know, it's like this, and never really. I was arrogant, conceited. Like people would not talk to me because they just knew, she not going. You know, but they never sat down and talked to me. They never
Mhm.
sat down and find out who I really am. Now, fast forward now, the same thing. You know, for 6, 7 years of my life, you see me on screen as one way, but not knowing that even before then, I had a whole amazing life before then. Now, after that, I have a whole amazing life after that, but you're just judging me by that one cover. And this
Mhm.
goes all around. You know, when God said, in the Bible, when it said, don't judge one another, we're not supposed to judge one another. That is what that book is all about. Don't look at my cover. Of course, that cover gonna be glam. It's gonna be what it is. Take a time to read the pages within those books and find out who I really am. Yeah.
No, I like that. I mean, it is so true. I mean, I could say firsthand that I've learned not to judge a book by its cover, being a personal trainer and so forth. Like, you know, I used to watch other trainers, you know, judge a potential client coming in. They're like, oh, I don't want to take him. Like, you know, they'll hand him off to me. I was like, no problem. Little did I know this, you know, guy or girl is a multimillionaire and they just never dress up.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, stuff like that. Right. So I learned from an early age, like, you know, it's people are interesting in all forms and fashion.
Yeah.
And believe me, I mean, people will say about me, you know, from a distance, they thought I was going to be like a dick or, you know, think I was going to be a certain way just because I have a more serious face. I'm not walking around bubbly and stuff like that. But if you actually talk to me, I'm like, you know, one of the most caring people and will help you out any way I can.
Right.
But I guarantee, you know, when people do walk past me, they're like, oh man, you know, because they've said it. So I believe everything you said. I love that legacy wall. That is the first one. You know, when you first said it, I was like, okay, don't judge a book by its cover. And then all of a sudden you hit that second one. I was like, dang, I like, all right, I like that.
Mhm.
Where can people connect with you? I mean, I know with the podcast, that'll be in the show notes and everything like that, but where can people find you and learn more about what you have going on?
Well, they can definitely find me at Naomi Banks, the real Naomi Banks, that one, as well as Ask Naomi Bridging the Gap podcast. That's a podcast that I do every Thursday that we talk about love, sex, relationship, culture differences, and so much more. That's a live show that we talk there. as well as the Season of Self-Love podcast. Right now, my Elevate Me Self-Discovery, which is my transformative life coaching, that website is not up quite yet, but it's coming in the next few months coming. But they can always find me there, or better yet, just go to the Season of Self-Love podcast. Yeah.
You got it. It'll definitely be in the show notes, guys. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, check it out in the video description. But make sure you guys share this episode with a friend, right? Everyone can use a little bit of, reflection and figuring out what your self-worth is, and maybe reconnecting with yourself and really finding out, and re-loving yourself so that you can accept love from others, in a more like passionate and more, deep understanding for it. So without that, guys, without further ado, I want to say, make sure you guys share that, episode with a friend. But Naomi, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day again to hop on and just drop knowledge off knowledge off knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you. Truly, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. I haven't been on this side of the mic in the the guest role in a long, long time.
Well, thank you.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. Cause in the game of life, mindset calls the shots. Got my mind on the prize, I can't be distracted. I stay on my grind, no time to be slacking. I hustle harder, I go against the current. Cause I know my mind is rich to be